afternoon, actually. It's afternoon today. Quadcopter 101. What I got for you today is a review of the JJRC H29H. Now, I've done previous reviews, I believe, of the H29G, which was an FPV quadcopter of this same shape, except its version was FPV, and I was actually impressed with the flying ability of the H29. Now, JJRC's taken that and gone another step further and has now included altitude hold with this quadcopter. You'll see the advertisements for this that there is a camera version, but the one that I got here is not the camera version. This is the basic learn to fly quadcopter version, H29H without camera. Because of that, it runs about $30, a little over $30. I think around 33, something in that area there. But with that in mind, it still could be potentially a great learn to fly quadcopter, especially with the altitude hold now included in it. Looking at it, again, the shape is exactly the same as the previous H29s, except again, they've now included altitude hold. The battery is a little, I believe, 450 milliampere hour. It is a 450 milliampere hour white Losi connector. Very common from JJRC. They have them for other similar quadcopters in their toy lineup, so you have no problems at all finding the batteries for this. And again, the H29's been out a while, so spare props are also available for this. Let's go over the controller. This controller is different than the previous controllers I've seen for the H29. Again, there is a photo-video version, but this one is not, does not have it. So this button here is inoperative. You can tell it to do flips by pressing this button here and telling it which direction to flip by moving the pitch roll stick. Since this is altitude hold quadcopter, it starts and stops in idle. So to enter it into idle, to arm the blades, you press this button here, and to stop the blades, you press this button here. It has beginner, intermediate, expert, and you can increase them by pressing this button here and decrease them by pressing this button here. So this goes up into beginner, intermediate, expert, and this comes down in the reverse order. This trim button is actually for yaw trim, so it does have yaw trim, and it does have pitch trim, and it does have roll trim. And finally, it does have headless mode, which you activate by pressing this button here, and one key return also by pressing this button for 2 seconds. And it has automatic takeoff and landing, so once you arm the motors and put them into idle, you press this button here and it should automatically take off, and press it once more and it should automatically land. So let's go for a flight of the H29H and see how it performs. It has an on-off switch. We activate as such, and we'll point in that direction to give us a headless mode direction. And binding the quadcopter, and we should be bound. And let's arm the motors, and let's try that automatic takeoff. Ready? And there's its automatic takeoff. Let's try that trim. Does the trim need it? Left trim, left trim. How about a little bit backward trim, and we got perfect hover. That's how you use the trim buttons, by the way, folks, to get hover. Okay, we're good enough for hover. Let's go out right about there and try that one key return. There's one key return. Going up a little bit higher, too. Let's do that again. Going out to there, pressing one key return, and here it comes back. Now keep in mind, one key return, all it does is fly the exact opposite direction the quadcopter was pointed when it took off. Let's bring it in close so you can see this again. Again, yeah, this would be a good flyer for beginner flyers. Bring it a little closer, and we're going to enter into headless mode. Quick press. Now headless mode, don't care what direction the quadcopter is pointed. That'll always be forward. This way would always be back, no matter which direction I point that quadcopter. This way is always going to be left, and the other way is always going to be right, no matter which direction the quadcopter is pointed. So that's what headless mode is all about. It makes it easier for beginner flyers to fly, keeping in mind that the direction the quadcopter was pointed when you took off is always going to be forward, and right and left and backward is always in relation to that direction. So let's come out of headless mode. I'm still... I am in. I am still in headless mode. So I'm trying to bring myself back in headless mode there. Now headless mode can confuse you sometimes, folks. Now am I in normal? Okay, now I'm in normal flight. I had to press that headless mode button one more time. Let's do a flip while we're here. Left flip, right flip, back flip, back flip. So it flips. Let's go to higher rates now. It's intermediate. Okay, we got an expert rate. That's what I want to see. So this is expert rate. A little more nimble. Anything higher than expert? Nope. Beginner, intermediate, expert. But again, since this is altitude hold, I no longer have to worry about adjusting the altitude. It maintains the altitude on its own. Let's try the automatic landing now. We haven't done that yet. Let's bring it over to my landing pad, see if I can do an auto landing onto the landing pad. I'm going back to beginner rate. Coming over the landing pad and pressing landing. I didn't make it. Let's try that again. Arming, arm. This time I'm going to do a manual takeoff. And a manual landing. There. Works much better than doing the automatic landing. Okay, so arming again. Going back into the air with the takeoff button. Let's go fly around that pine tree over there. Going out. Flying around it. Now, these are how this thing flies. You know, I was thinking of putting a little FPV camera, an all-in-one FPV camera on it, and that just might work well with this. You know, like I said, there is a 5.8 gigahertz FPV version of this already, but you know, that's just a cheap little camera that they threw on that FPV version of this. If you put a 5.8 gigahertz all-in-one, you could have a much better FPV flyer. So I'm thinking of doing that for a future flight of this particular quadcopter. Flip. Okay. No more power for flips, so that means we're getting low in that 450 milliampere hour. Yep, don't want to flip. Let's see how long it'll fly then before it lands or drops. I'm curious. Are the lights flashing yet? Lights aren't flashing. Okay, it did a flip for me that time. Let's come overhead again and see that. Okay, but why wouldn't it do that when I'm flying forward? Oh, there we go. Never mind, I take back. We still got power on this thing. So we could do some rolls with this particular quadcopter. I think we're just an intermediate, aren't we? No, that was expert rate. Flies very well, folks. But it's got altitude hold again, so going up and going down is kind of sluggish in that case, you know. It's not going to be rapid climbs and descents. Just slow. Okay, there goes its lights. Let's press that land from high. Let's do an automatic landing from high. It's coming down, all on its own. Automatic landing from on high. And there it is. So that's the flight of the H29H from JJRC with altitude hold. Kind of easy to fly. Good for beginner flyers. That's what it's meant to be. So I hope you enjoyed this flight. This is Quadcopter 101, signing out.